Hello everybody, this is the Dead Money with Dan Arfin podcast. Like and subscribe to the channel so that you can go to bed having always known that you liked and subscribed to the best poker podcast that you could get your ears on. Now we've got a fantastic guest for you today, folks, because Matty Levine will be joining us. And I'm very thankful for Matty because if he wanted to, Matty himself could have easily started this exact podcast at least a few years back. And had he done so, I'd have had nowhere to go and nothing to do but rot for the last 14 to 15 months, but he didn't. Matty just took all of his disdain and rage and ire and exasperation and aggravation and affliction and vexation towards the current world of the Las Vegas cash game scene and did what a smart person would do, and that is get the fuck out of professional poker. He knew better than I did sitting around here wondering every night I go to sleep, how much more of this fucking child's play can I continue to take before I end up on the news every day for a month? Now, Matty doesn't play much Hold'em anymore, predictably so in hindsight, because for years now in recent past, you look over at him from time to time, and sooner or later he looks like he's in a straitjacket because he hates this shit. He hates it more than I do. And we know that's no little statement. He hates it so much he couldn't even start a podcast about it. He just left it all behind because he can barely sit still now. It was visible how consumed he had become with the stress from wanting to scream at the top of his lungs. The personalities of No Limit Hold'em players and the game flow of how they play, yeah, they cracked me, but they broke Matty. He couldn't take it anymore. So in addition to everything else Matty has on his mind, I cannot wait to laugh my ass off at what he has to say about modern-day Hold'em cash game players because this has been brewing in him for years. But good for him for getting out what is a while ago by now and turning poker back into the hobby every pro wishes it could still feel like, because no serious poker player, whether they were ever a pro or not, has ever enjoyed poker more than when they first learned the rules and started playing on what few chances they could get. Now, I'm not quite sure of Matty's exact professional poker timeline as far as when it started, when it ended. All I know is he's been in Vegas for a while, that he's only been playing poker for fun for more than a few years now, and that Pot Limit Omaha is now his game of choice. Now, Matty is almost exactly a year younger than I, so that means he just turned 40. Welcome to the club. He also grew up in New York, but probably a good hour away from where I did. He looks a bit Jewish. He acts a bit Jewish, but he isn't Jewish. He only has the Jewish last name. And I must admit, I was very sad when I came upon this information. Now, let's see what else. Oh, yeah. He's run really fucking good against me over the years. Only in the last couple years have I finally hit him back a couple times, and it only took me having pocket aces on both occasions. Because for all his contempt and acrimony towards Hold'em, Matty is also definitely one of the most talented cash game players I've seen in the 2-5 field. He's a good hand reader, he's aggressive, he builds his image very well. He likes to make very fancy plays, but he's good at it. He can bluff, be rebluffed, and then have the confidence to re-rebluff, and that's one of the hardest plays you can make in No Limit Hold'em. So Matty can really play if he wants to, but that eventually stopped being the case, so his play suffered. But he's just doing it to himself, he knows that. Just like from what I also hear, he's the biggest whale in the city as far as getting massages at the table go. But we're going to let him tell us more about all of this now, and everything else. So, Matty, thanks a lot for being here, and what's on that fast-paced mind of yours today?
Dan, thanks for having me. That was it's pretty impressive. You remember those hands. I do as well. But thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk some shop, maybe a little history of how it all started. And
yeah, I mean, look, I couldn't win a hand against you for the longest time,
that is a true story. And not because you misplayed hands. I ran unbelievably hot versus you. It felt like every single hand we ever played that was reasonable. I just had it, and it just seemed like that way for, I don't know, probably the first 5, 6, 7 years that we ever played.
I know. It got to a point where you would get to the table, and like I was never going to let you know about this. I would cringe every time I saw you, because I just like, all right, can I just go like he's talking about the tournament he's about to play. Like, can I just go 1 hour without ending up in a brutal spot against this fucking guy? You once raised with 4-3 suited in middle position. I tried to get fancy and throw in a call and let fish in behind me, see if something funny develops. And I had kings, by the way. And you just flop 2 pair, 5, 4, 3, and you just turn a full house. And all these bets start going in, and I'm value betting against someone else, and you're jamming, and it's like, God! Every time I looked over my shoulder.
Full transparency. You and Dave Rom were I'd say I probably played let me say 2014 to let's say 2018. Good 4 or 5 years. And I felt like you and Dave Rom were the 2 best players I played against, where I just ran unbelievably hot. It was just silly. And I think everybody has these kind of players, right? The players where, wow, it doesn't matter how good this person plays, or it doesn't matter what they have. I'm just gonna have the best hand. And it's the other players where it's man, I can never beat this guy. I know what he has. It just doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, there's guys you crush nonstop, and there's guys who crush you nonstop, and I'm aware of it when it's happening. And sometimes you get this false sense of security, and you're like, I always nail it against this guy, so why wouldn't I this time?
100%. You feel like you're getting exploited, and you're not. It's just I just had it.
Yeah, I thought I played okay against you. I mean, it's even. I think there were some spots where maybe you didn't have it, but it didn't matter. I was in such a bad spot, and I know that you can go to the next level. You're good at these leveling wars, and I just had to back away, or bluff off, pay off, just some kind of headache.
I don't know if you've ever made a bad call. I don't know if I've ever shown you the bad news.
Well, maybe not pay the river, but something. But just money had to go into the pot, and then I just got my head buried in my hands again against Matty, and then I got aces a couple of times.
Then I remember you fixed me pretty good. I remember
one at the win and one at resorts.
I remember both. I remember you open. Oh no, somebody else opened. You 3-bet. I cold called with 10-9 of spades or something, and then 2 other people cold called.
Yeah, I remember this. I remember right. That was the hand at the win.
And I was in position versus the field, and the flop came 6-5-3, 2 spades or something. I'm just I'm barreling off. This is got my flop written all over it. I have 6-5 suited. I have all these hands. And it checks to me, and you did the sensible thing. You just put it in my face. You didn't call. You didn't raise. You was just
I raised really big.
You stuffed. And I was fuck. You just put me in the fucking blender. I thought you might peel one. I thought if you had ace or king high, those hands wouldn't. You wouldn't get too sticky with those. But yeah, even if you did add an overpair, I figured you would just peel, given how deep we were, and if the texture just deteriorated, I was just gonna put it in.
Yeah, the hand at win, I made a big flop checker, as you call. The turn wasn't a horrible card. I'm I'm about to shit myself, thinking I know it's Matty. Here we go again. And I had the ace of spades. I know a spade's gonna come. Yeah, I'm gonna check. He's gonna rip, and I'm gonna hate my life.
The check raise on the flop really put me in the blender, because I remember there was I had backdoor out. I had a backdoor.
Yeah, no, you had it was right on the line for you to try to get there.
I was just oh man. I just got owned. But no, it felt good. It felt good that you finally got it. You deserve it. It was you waited 5 years to finally
win one freaking hand.
Fucker, I got you.
So here's what I want to know. When did you first start to get really, really bored of cash games? Because that's the word I actually forgot to mention. It's the most important one. Yeah, you just got bored of this.
I mean, my take is I started playing professionally probably back in 2007. So my poker career actually started online. So I learned the game a lot differently than a lot of the live pros, how the game came to them, right? And when I came to Vegas in 2014, I had been playing for 6 or 7 years, where my guess is against your typical pro, I've played millions of hands more than your average guy, but I didn't have a skill set where it was just a totally different skill set, right? You're reading people's a thing, playing with chips, timing. These are all new variables to the game that I have zero experience in, right? So my advantage, I felt was I just played more hands, exponentially more hands than a lot of the live guys, but their advantage was, this is a different ring. You're not playing the same game here, right? It's I'm just gonna look at you and size you up and be wow, you look nervous. I'm just gonna put it in. And when I first moved here in 2014, I remember one player stuck out. Josh Curtis was just a thorn in my side. This guy played the game totally different, right? The game was also a lot softer. There was no table changing or seat changing. You didn't have to do any of that shit. It's you just show up and print, and you just play ABC. There's no really getting out of line. No need to do that. And Josh has become one of my best friends at this point. and actually I work with him now with Citadel Sports Group. But yeah, he played the game differently, and I realized like, wow, this is just a totally different animal, right? He applied pressure. He didn't care what his cards were. He was just playing you, and it was just a totally different game. Because if you did that online, like, you were gonna just get wrecked. Like, there was none of that, right? So that's when I started to realize, like, holy cow, live poker is just totally different. It's so much slower. There's so much more variables to take into consideration, and
so much room for creativity, like Josh was.
Oh yeah, oh my god, yeah. Like he didn't care if he got dealt Jack 6. He's like, fuck this guy. Like, I don't like your face. Like, you look nervous. Like, you don't know this, but I'm gonna put all the money in by like the 4th or 5th card, and you don't know that's coming. And if you just have one pair, you're probably not gonna call. And that's how he just murdered the competition. And it was funny because like when we first started battling, like, I actually hated him, right? Like, I looked at him as, man, this guy's fucking good. He puts me in the blender, like, he's the only guy I feel like who has a hold over me, right? He just like knows what I'm gonna do with what I have, and it was a real eye opener, right? And that was like 2014, and then played a few more years, and No Limit was changing. A lot of people, like, I think, who got a late start in poker, let's say, I would say post 2017, 2018, they don't have a reference to what poker was like 15 years ago, right? It was a totally different game. Just the way it was played, the liquidity, the overall liquidity in the pool, like, it's changed a lot, and not for the better, right? I think the information out there has made a lot of guys better, even rec players are better, and I started to get a little bit bored, right? It was like, well, we're playing the same game for 10 years, it's the same thing, same people, and it's, to be honest with you, like, I wasn't getting better at the same rate as the field was, right? So, like, they were catching up. And that can be stressful, especially like when you're relying on this as your career, right? Your career path. And yeah, that's when I actually found something else. Josh reached out to me, and we ended up starting a professional sports betting group, and I've been doing that for the last 8 years full time. So like you said, it's poker. What I've realized is it's a lot more fun when you can do it on your own terms, right? You're not relying on the results, because the variance and the volatility can drive you absolutely bonkers, right? And it's only tougher now, especially Vegas, right? It's probably one of the hardest places in the world to play. Like, you have some of the best players that come here, and it's not like the good old days where you just get random people that walk in at a high frequency where it's like, wow, this game's amazing, right? That's just like, that used to be every day, you know?
Yeah, I've played a little bit against Josh Curtis, and it seems like maybe I caught him maybe towards the end of his regular days where he wasn't quite as crazy as I've heard he was. I saw that he did stuff and didn't look at things the way most players look at them. But yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot about him, and it sounds like he rubbed off on you because...
Yeah, he was a legend. I mean, this is a guy in a $1,500 cap game would be in for $6K to get the game out of the muck, and by like 6 in the morning be absolutely incoherent with like 15,000 in front of him, right? It was just, he just knew... He's what a professional should aspire to be, in the sense that, like, he was able to win, and there would be a table list of 22 people every night trying to play with this guy, and he was the best player in the game. And I there got to a point where I turned over to him, like, say probably 3 or 4 months into me living in Vegas. I turned to him, I was like, dude, I gotta ask you this. You're like, don't feel obligated to answer this, but like, there's 21 people trying to get in this game. They're all trying to play with you, and you're the best player in the game. And he just turns to me with like a smirk, and he starts laughing. He's like, yeah, isn't it great? And it's just like, I wish like the pros today would understand, like, part of the game isn't just winning and making the best decisions. Sometimes those decisions aren't like an EV calculator, right? I think the best compliment a professional can get in today's industry is not how well they play, but how much fun they are to play with, right? And you'll always have a game. Like, I remember years later, guys would come in and they'd be like, "Oh, yo, Matty," you're like, "Oh, where's Josh? Is he here? Is he gonna play?" And it's just like, no, you know, he doesn't. He does like real world shit now. It's like he plays maybe a couple times a year, and they're sad. And like, these are guys who are good actually, like guys you want to play with, right? Like guys who the money doesn't matter, and it's like they're looking forward to the entertainment and being entertained, and that's, I think, the big issue. At least what I've seen over my tenure is, specifically in the last like 5 to 7 years, is that you don't have that kind of professional anymore, right? It's more like guys they're just trying to have a win rate, which I get. Like, that's your profession. But I do think there's a big drop off in how entertaining the game could be, right? And now you see it like they're trying to add caveats like the Squid Games and stand up or Seven Deuce and almost trying to reinvent No Limit so that it's still fun to play. Right?
This is just, and it's like replacing the bad personalities.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just a duct tape solution of like, oh, this game sucks. Like it's very boring. It's like watching paint dry, and that actually led me to why I sat down on a 4-card game. I was like, oh, let me try this, and I immediately loved it. Right, I was like, wow, this is way more entertaining, and it almost felt like a new puzzle to solve.
Well,
right?
very much that. Do you think the people are different there too?
Yeah, 100%. I think the field of people it's less saturated, right? So you get a lot of people who aren't playing full time. That helps, right? They're there more for recreational reasons, which is going to help on both ends, right? That's going to help with there being just overall more liquidity for the pros that are playing. And it's also going to just create a better atmosphere, in my opinion, like a playing atmosphere, because the propensity of people that care of winning and losing, like that's not, I'd say it's like not as important, it's like not necessarily the number one thing with some of these people. Like they come, they're just like here to gamble and have fun and drink. And
yeah, people who come for entertainment, like they literally want entertainment. They want entertaining personalities, and people who gamble at different casinos, they have their casino hosts who they like, they treat them well. And it's true, as a pro poker player, you are ideally, like a poker host. You host the people and you make them interesting to play. You're fun to play with, like Josh was. And Mike Zolker talked about this last year, heading right into the World Series. He was saying, like, there's just no personalities left. Like, you used to have Doyle Brunson in his hat, like Tom Schneider in his jacket. Like, there's just fewer and fewer entertaining characters to see. Yeah. Everybody's so serious now, including myself. I mean,
no, there's nothing. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's just like it's just the way the industry is, right? And I think when you have a high saturation of player to recreational ratio, this is what's going to happen, right? Like if you're a recreational, you can afford the luxury of showing cards mid-hand or drinking till you're making decisions that are not necessarily optimal, right? Like it's not about the dollars win-loss. It might be about like, hey, I'm just having a good time, right? But if you're a professional, the lens is different. It's like, no, I'm here because I'm chasing an hourly, right? Like I'm here to make money, and the best way for me to do that personally is to be focused and to be sharp and not necessarily distracted doing other things. It's like, I mean, my biggest pet peeve now is like I see somebody at a table and they bring like a iPad and they're watching Netflix.
No, it's terrible.
Or worse, they're fucking playing online, and I'm like, dude, what the? Just stay home. Just nobody wants to play with you. You don't engage. You're probably a nut peddler, and it's nobody wants to play with you. And I've heard both arguments where it's like, well, I'm not obligated to provide entertainment. Like I'm entitled to this seat. It's like, sure. But what's going to happen is if everybody thought like you're just going to be playing against 7 other of yourselves, and now you're going to have no game, right? So like maybe a balance, like maybe a better understanding of like this is the kind of toxicity that you're bringing to the industry, and try to dial it back, or at least try to engage sometimes, and maybe you don't do it the whole time. Some sort of happy medium, right? Like. But yeah, that's easily my biggest pet peeve is just like somebody's like watching a fucking movie and it's like, dude, just stay home,
I mean, it's part of making money is to just be a good salesman, be cool. Like maybe enter every game as though you're like auditioning for someone to invite you to a home game, even if you don't want to play in home games at all. But just when you have, some type of engaging personality, it is good for your win rate. Ideally, if you can do both, if you could be like Josh was, which is entertaining to play with.
He is the aspiring professional. He was able to be good enough at the game with a relatively marginal skill set. Like structurally, fundamentally, he was fucking terrible, right? But he was so good intuitively, like it made up for that difference, right? And he was able to do both. He was able to basically be a host for these recreationals and pros alike, and still have what I would assume, I'm speculating here, is the biggest win rate in the game, like by a large margin. Like he understood. I think he understood the task, right? Like he knew how to win and provide a fun atmosphere at the same time, and that's lacking in today's environment, at least in the no limit streets. Like, it's been a while. I haven't really played too much no limit cash, but it's not the case like with a lot of the PLO games that I've played in. So it's really social, it's fun, like people are drinking, showing cards mid hand. It's like, all right, this is what poker what I remember, you know. This is how I remember live poker when I first started.
So Omaha now is sort of like what Hold'em was like 20 years ago.
I would say, yeah. So like I would say 10, just because I don't have that reference past 2014. But yeah, that's what it feels like for me, and it's like it's reinvigorated my love for the game. I absolutely love going to the Wynn and playing now, right? Where it's towards the end of my, like, I would say my playing professional career with no limit, I lost that a long time ago. It was more like, I'm forcing myself to go. This is my job. I got to do this, and then that affects you mentally too, right? Like you're
not going to play as well.
No, you're going to force shit. Your thresholds for bullshit is going to be a lot lower. Like little things are going to piss you off, and then you might have a lower threshold for tilt. Like it's basically, then it becomes what I think is like a huge snowball of, wow, this is just not a good atmosphere. Like this isn't healthy, right? But yeah, I do miss No Limit. I sometimes play. I like the tournaments. You know, I still like No Limit tournaments. I'll still play them every now and then. But yeah, as far as like the actual like cash game, I don't really miss it too much. I miss what it used to be, right?
So when you play it online, you were okay with this. Obviously, there's no social anything going on online, but you're playing a ton of hands, so that probably kept you interested.
Yeah. So the big difference for those of you who missed the online golden years, it's there's no downtime, right? Like with live, it's like, what are you playing? Maybe 20, 25 hands an hour, and there's a lot of downtime in between. So like today, people are going to be on their phones, they're going to be searching social media, whatever they're doing. There's 2 minutes of downtime between a hand, you know, where it's like online, there's no downtime. Every time you make a decision, there's another one to be made, right? Because you're probably playing closer to like 120 hands an hour per table. And now you're not playing one table, you might be playing 8. So
do you hate libraries? Because it's quiet, you know. It's sort of because the poker game today, Hold'em is sort of like a library. There's very little noise. Everybody's just doing their own thing. They got their iPad out.
Yeah, I don't think I had too many lifetime visits to the local library. Maybe I would say a good line might be like 3.5.
Well, hearing you talk about playing with Josh, have you played much with Billy McMahon? DGAF to the poker podcast?
No. I remember there was a couple random days, like long time ago, where I played in a game he was in. Very very few, maybe 2 or 3 times, and not too many hands I played.
Yeah, I mean,
really remember
playing with him, and I didn't really play with him a ton, but we played more than just a few times, and it sounds like what Josh was like is that, and even yourself, I felt to some degree, at least the decisions I'm making, I've only come across so many players where the whole time they're there, I'm sort of building every decision I make around them, because you never know when they're just going to rise up out of nowhere and do something crazy, and you know, Josh showing up with Jack 6 at any time.
Yeah, it's basically like I'm gonna 4-bet this because you're out of control, or you know, he's just so good at intuitively, and it's like if you're a live player, I think that's depending on the stakes that you play. Like I wouldn't suggest this for if you're playing Triton events, but if you're playing your average game, like it's I would argue it's probably more important to understand the game flow and specific player to player dynamics more so than like playing what's theoretically optimal, right? Like I make the argument that I think if you're playing in a deep enough cash game, specifically No Limit, you can make pre-flop negative decisions. Like you can play a wider range and whatever you're putting in 3, 4, 5 big blinds or whatever at negative expected value, because what you're really chasing are those times when you get to a river spot and you're talking about a decision for 200 bigs where you have a massive fucking edge, right? Like I've had these conversations with Walton and some other, and Zolk, and you make in real time, you make the negative EV decision for a small amount of bets because you're getting it back on the decisions where you're making for 50, 100, 150 bets, right? You're used to being in these spots. You can challenge people's thresholds more because they're not used to being in those spots. So it's like, that's why I understand like when people get creative or they have like a more creative skill set where they play a lot of hands. And I always think that's probably the justification for it. It also might not be accurate. Like I could be totally off base where it's like, all right, in today's world, like if you're making a bad pre-flop decision, like you're not winning. It doesn't matter. doesn't matter how good of a decision you're making on the macro, on the turn, river, when the pot's bloated, and you're not getting it back, right?
I'm not convinced that the way you guys wanted to implement these really wide ranges, I'm not convinced that would fail today. I've always kind of wanted to be that kind of player, but I don't know. I'm just a little. I just haven't been confident enough in myself that I'm going to be firing these no equity bluffs profitably. And I mean, yeah, it's like this is negative EV, like in the theory sense, but like the theory sense is not accounting for how big my edge is going to be later on when we get to the river, and right. I can make some huge bluffs and get away with a lot of stuff that like. This hand is negative E because you're not supposed to be able to do this on the river.
Right.
But you can do it on the river, so it's actually not negative EV.
Yeah, but I mean, like, my big issue with solvers is it's like they're programmed that they're playing against perfect opponents, right? And you're playing a game against humans. Like, humans make mistakes. Like, even the best players in the world make mistakes, right? So, like, that's why I think it's a good... If you're just starting out or you're an intermediate player or even professional, it's like it's good to review and do these things and have an understanding of like what the baseline should be. But don't get caught up. Don't be a sheep. Don't just be like, oh, this is what you do every time. It's like, no. Like, think logically for 1 second, okay? If you're on the river and you're towards the bottom of your range and you're playing against a guy who, for 6 hours, and you've seen him play 20 different hands, he's got to the river and he's never folded, like, check folding might be the best option here, right? Like, a bluff isn't going to work at a high enough frequency based on what you've seen up to this point. So, like, the solver might be like, oh, we're at the bottom of a range. Like, we're going to bluff here. It's like, well, let's take some more relevant variables into consideration. Like, this guy hasn't fucking folded a river since the Vietnam War. So, like, I am just going to play straight up. I'm going to lose what I already have in the middle. I'm not going to compound, like, trying to bluff him off of it when he's shown zero propensity to do so. So, like, I'm going to check, even though maybe the solver would be like, oh, you should jam here or 2x pot here every time, And that's my big thing. Like, when people talk about solvers, it's like, oh, the solver would do this. It's like, well, the solver doesn't know how Dan Arfin plays these spots. Like, I think I have a better understanding of, like, I've played 1,000 hands with you in this spot. Like, maybe your tendency is, like, to get stickier than what the solver would say, So I think too many people get caught up in, like, oh, they want to, like, memorize, like, what works and what is proficient in certain spots. And it's like, do a little bit more critical thinking for yourself, right? You're still playing a game of logic. You're still playing against imperfect beings. It's okay, and it's okay to make a mistake. Like, fuck it. Like, you know what? I thought this guy was going to fold. Like, now you have more information going forward, right? Like, utilize it.
So. No, I totally agree. I mean, the solver is an amazing tool, but it's only a tool, and it doesn't have a heartbeat. It doesn't account for all these other things that are going on. The best thing a person can do is take concepts from the solver, which is what I try to do when people explain them to me, is take ideas, take certain sizes it uses, and try to find a spot where I think it's going to work, not just try and really copy what the solver is telling me to do. But yeah, as the game has gotten more and more theory-like, you got more and more people, just when they sit down, you already know that I'm sure you could tell too. Yeah, you already know you know
who the nut peddling nerds are. It's like they got the backpack. Like, it's just we used to joke about this, like how people buy in, what they buy in for, what kind of chips. I used to speculate a lot. Like if it's a game where it's a $1,500 max and somebody buys in for 15 black, I'm immediately speculating like this guy has a very high threshold, and he's going to be very aggressive. And these are certain speculations. I'm not saying this is a good strategy, because if you're wrong, you're doing yourself a bigger disservice. But it's like, I think they're pretty accurate. Like, looking back, it's like, this guy's buying in for big chips because he's going to use them, right? And where it's like, okay, we're playing a $500 min, $1,500 max, somebody buys in for 500 red. I'm already speculating, like, this guy is probably going to be a nit. Like, this guy's probably only going to enter the pot when he has it. He's probably not going to have a very low frequency of bluff. Like, he's probably only going to call if he has, like, towards the top of his range when you put him to the test for his stack. These are certain, like going back to the live aspect of, like, live reads of starting to basically build a perception of somebody, right? And it's funny. We used to joke about this shit all the time. It's like, oh my god, Matty has a yellow and 5 black. Like, he's buried. Like, oh, he was, it's fun. It's I do miss the good old days, but it's still a great game, right? Like, I still love the game. and it's so much more enjoyable like when you don't have to play, right? It's more of a casual activity of choice rather than a career path.
Yeah, for me, it's like it can be a casual choice if I want it to be, but I'm still choosing to keep the pedal down because I don't know. I just feel like no, I'm not done beating the fuck out of you people. Like this is too much fun. I still want to pound your face into the ground, and
you got to have that killer instinct. Otherwise,
yeah.
It's like, what am I doing here? You know, it's find what drives you, right? If it's just being like, you know what, I want to just fuck everybody up today because I have that capability. Like that could be your motivation, right? Like that could be what keeps you coming back, right? It's like with golf. It's when you hit a flush 3-wood and you pure it on a par 5 and you get to the green in 2, you're like, holy fuck, you're chasing that feeling again, right? You just want to get back out there and do it again. So I feel like golf and poker are very similar in that aspect. It could be unbelievably rewarding when you hit top of range shots and play above the rim, and it's like it could also be like insanely infuriating if you can't get off the tee or you can't win a hand. It's like crazy similarities.
I could barely get the ball to come off the tee at the driving range, so I haven't quite stepped into golf yet. I can barely make par on the mini golf course. And watching you play, I mean, when you were making live reads, like when I'm trying to make live reads, I'm not trying to give away what I'm thinking. I'm just trying to do it subtly. Like you would like lean forward and get this menacing look on your face that like he's making a live read right now. Only the opponent doesn't seem to know what is coming, so it's not as if you're giving anything away. But you always seemed very confident in your reads, very confident in to make these
where I got
special moves, threading the needle.
Like when I first started playing live, I didn't do any of that stuff, right? Like I didn't even know that was a thing. It was when Walton basically moved, and Adam Walton and I I've played more hands against Adam Walton than any other person in my history, and he's the one who I realized like where I started to pick up on these kind of things like he does it. Like, and it could be anything from people's tendencies. It could be the way they lean back, like they jam and they lean back and they grab a sip of water, and I'm just like, my hand immediately hits the muck. You know, it's just like stuff like little stuff like that, where in the beginning I never even thought was a thing or even something to look at when you're playing a game of poker. It's like, what? How is this relevant? And you start to see all these correlations. Like, wow, man, like strong correlation. You know, somebody mid-hand is going to grab a drink, especially when they're not proficient, or you're not worried that it's like a reverse tell of sorts, and it's like they're grabbing a drink. Like that level of comfort is like so incredibly nutted. It's like I'm done thinking about this hand. Like you just win, you know. And, you know, little things like that along the way. And I feel like Walton was the best at it in the beginning. Like he was just, his level of conviction, whether he was right or wrong, was at a. I've never played against anybody who had more conviction about like what they were doing in real time, and I think it's a large reason and attributed to his success along the years of he's just like, I'm just fucking doing this. Like I've already made up my mind, and like this is my read. Like this is my decision, and
I don't care what anybody says. He's writing his own. He's writing his own. Really wrote his own story.
And there's always been unbelievably good logic tied to that, right? Like it's whether you agree or disagree with the logic. Like the way he thinks about stuff is like, oh, this makes a lot of sense, or like, I understand. And like when you have that much conviction, I do think it matters. Like it's people are fucking terrified to play against you, right? Like they're terrified that you're so confident in like whatever it is that you're doing. Like I cannot beat you, you know. And I think that those kind of like intangibles like do matter. There's no way to measure it or quantify it, but like you kind of just have to use what's the word I'm looking for? It's just like anecdotally, like like I see this tendency a lot, and like this seems to be heavily correlated and whatnot. But yeah, he was like the second coming of Josh Curtis for me. He was another thorn in my side. And like Josh, I hated him too when I first started playing with him, and then he's become like one of my best friends. So it's funny how that happens. Where it's like, oh man, I hate this fucking guy's face. I just want to empty his bankroll, and you know, something happens along the way where like you connect with somebody you used to battle with, and like it's just like a light switch, right?
You know, playing against you, you're actually one of really a small percentage of people who I didn't hate at some point. I hate almost everybody I play with at some point, usually in the beginning. And I've become friends or acquainted with lots of them. But you, I never seemed to really mind. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was like some sort of subtle Jewish heritage.
Jewish connection, man. They used to call me Bagoli. Bagolis. You were spot on. I'm not Jewish, but my father is, so I was like a half bagel, half cannoli, right? Because I'm half Jew, half Italian.
Pizza bagel.
So Bagoli was like somewhere along the line that stuck.
Yeah, a stripper told me that once. She said that she was Jewish and Italian, and then she said she was a pizza bagel. So
that also also makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm impressed you remember those hands. Shit, yeah. Then you got me back at Resorts World.
Yeah, oh yeah, I had aces in that, and also I don't remember the hand that well. I just remember I checked Jam the River.
You checked the river. I do remember the hand. We were playing shorthanded. It was like 4 a.m. What was the board? The board was like Queen 10x. You had 3-bet pre. We were shorthanded. I think I defended with like some dusty ass hand, like 10-9 suited, 10 Jack 10. I don't know, something like that. I had a 10. I remember having a 10. And the turn was a queen, and it went check, and the river was a brick, and you fucking checked the river, and I was like, sick. I think he might call with his ace high, like, cause if you're bluffing me with like pre with like ace 3 of diamonds or whatever, like any ace high combination, I'm like, I think you're gonna find a call here because Jack 9, King Jack brick, random floats that had like a backdoor flush draw, 9-8 suited, that kind of shit, and I went for value on the river. And you stuffed it in my face, and I was like, "Fuck me!" This was the hardest hand I think I've ever played against you. I remember being like, "Man, fuck!" I didn't know what to think. I didn't know if you were like, "Man, I might have value, but if I do, I'm capped." So like, this is a great spot to turn my ace highs into a bluff. Like that went through my mind. I didn't think you had like mediocre value, like something like jacks or even like ace queen or like anything for value. I thought you were gonna bet river once I check back turn, with concern that I was gonna just check too much like mediocre showdown value, right? So when you took this line, I'm like, man, this might be a spot where Dan's getting out of line because I'm so capped that if I do have value, like this is really hard. This is really hard to be facing. So that was what was going through my mind. It was like, fuck me. And I ended up coming to the conclusion, I was like, you know what? Like, if you have value here, I think you just deserve it with how disciplined the river check is, and you just allow me to potentially just bluff.
Or go for thin value.
And you got me. And I remember calling, and I turned to you, I was like, you showed me the aces. I was like, great river check. And then I went home.
Well, I remember after jamming the river, you were like, oh, like I was afraid of that. Like I got fucking greedy, and
yeah, I said something about being greedy.
Yeah, I think you just got so tilted. You were so sick that you bet that now you felt like you just had to call it.
Yeah, I don't think I might have been like kind of upset. I was probably more upset with the fact that like my worst fear was just unfolded. I was like, man, I did not think this was ever in the cards.
No, it is one of the most brutal things that happens when you have showdown value. It's safe to just check here. You really don't want to see a raise. You think it's okay, and then they just stuff it in your face. That's one of the most miserable feelings.
That's a pretty terrible feeling. I wasn't too... Yeah, no, I think I was more upset. I was like, man, what... Your worst fear... When your worst fears, like how a hand plays out, actually transpire, that's like... that's frustrating.
Yeah, I think in that spot, and maybe just a lot of spots, it's not necessarily a live read. I just get a live feeling. It's like, and you're thinking about, before I check the river, like you're already thinking about betting. And sometimes I think maybe against other players, it's like I can get a feeling of what they're getting ready to do. And it just felt like there's some kind of energy coming at me that says he's going to bet.
You fixed me pretty good there. I mean, I would have to, right? Like even my bluffs, like I have to bet this river. And I think I had a weak 10 because I unblock all the bro. I think I had 10-9. And,
I didn't think you were going to call that one because you seem to like think he's got to have it.
Yeah, but then it's just like, man, I got caught up with like, as if you have value, I think you're going to just bet river because you would be concerned that you're going to lose a 10. Which, by the way, if you bet river, I would have folded. I wouldn't have thought you were going to bluff your ace highs often enough where like I would have just folded to a bet.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you absolutely fixed me really good there. That was a great river check. You got it all because of it. You would have got nothing.
Yeah, different game when you don't have the nuts every fucking hand, huh? I mean, there's just no, and it starts and stops for no reason. I mean, I've had whales, guys who just raise me on every bad card, and you call once in a while, and they just have it, and it's like, they're gonna have it, but it gets hard sometimes to think that someone is getting this hot against you in this short period of time.
I think in these kind of spots where, like, you have a good read on, like, people's propensity on how they play certain spots. For instance, like, if somebody knows you're capped, right? Like, let's say you 3-bet somebody who's capable, like somebody who's thinking, who's good at the game, and they think that their perception of your range in these kind of spots are pretty value heavy, right? There's not enough, like, board coverage. Like, you're not 3-betting hands like Ace-4 suited enough, or even, let's say, like Jack-10 suited, and you're basically weighted towards just like strong ace high bluffs and strong pairs, and the flop comes like 4, 5, 6. They're just like salivating. They're just like, wow, like, I don't care what happens. Like, I am eventually going to be all in because, like, this board is so much more connected to my range, and like, you're just capped at one pair, and it's like, good luck facing an all in by at some point in this hand. And it's like, once you like that player takes advantage of that spot enough, I think the simple adjustment is like, you know what, like, I gotta live with the volatility. Like, I am just gonna check call 3 streets. Like, I don't fucking care what comes.
If he stacks you, it's okay.
It's fine. Like, he deserves it because he also stacks himself because he has like 10-9 suited with no backdoor, and he's just gonna blast off on the 6-5-4. So it's like, if your read on people's if your read is strong enough on somebody's like tendencies, where it's like, oh, this guy overbluffs boards that are favorable for him, it's just like, okay, well, simple adjustment. And he thinks I'm going to overfold. Like, I'm just going to have him show it to me. Like, and if he has it, good for him. If he doesn't, like, I'm probably going to win more often because you're probably overbluffing. It's just like, kind of go back to the logic of the game and adjust accordingly. It's like, whereas somebody, it's like, all right, this guy has never bluffed off his stack ever. Like, he puts in a bet on the 6-4-5. Like, I'm going to continue overfolding because I'm not overfolding. I'm folding correctly because he just doesn't have hands that are worse, right? So, and again, like, going back to the whole, like, solver thing, it's like, a solver's not going to tell you that. Like, a solver is going to be like, oh, you're capped here. Like, all right, you have to call off. And it's like, well, this guy hasn't, bluffed ever in a decade. So, like, I'm just going to fold and not fucking care, because he doesn't attack these boards enough. So
a solver could actually make you a worse player. Because
I think so.
If you're misapplying its ideas and using it at the wrong time.
Yeah, especially at moderate stakes, like probably anything up to 10-20, I would think, like, where you're playing against more a higher rec based, or professionals who are good, who understand the game, but maybe they don't have like the next level that some of the higher stakes guys have, right? Where it's like either a disconnection from the volatility, or it's whatever it might be, right? So
yeah, some of the guys we're playing against here, some of the types you're mentioning, the guys who are going to just barrel off on boards that really favor their range. I sometimes forget, because I still overfold even to those guys. Sometimes forget that it's okay to stack off to this guy. It's that you forget. I forget to just live with the volatility and just think about how the pool vastly underbluffs this spot, and even if it's this guy, he still can have it, and it's just
right. It's not non-zero. I mean, they do have it sometimes.
Yeah,
that's why we fold. It's
I hate calling it off.
It's a horrible feeling when you call it off dead, and that was my biggest leak. I think my biggest leak when I was first started playing live is I feel exactly to your point, was I just never called it off bad ever. I refuse to put the chips in guessing, like, does he have it or does I would just always fold, and that's where Josh just destroyed me. He picked up on that immediately. He's like, wow, this guy only puts in big bets or he's only going to call big bets. He'll put in big bets with dust, but he doesn't call without it. And he exploited me for like quite a bit until I started to realize, I was like, man, like, why is he's always representing that he has it, and like, I'm always like, I always have something, but I never have it. And I just realized, like, man, I've folded 100%. And he's like, I know you don't have it. I see you do this shit against other players who have a higher call frequency. So, like, I know you're capable. And I never made it took me too long to adjust to be like, you know what, dude, here's a full buy-in. If you have it, God bless you. You fucking deserve it, right? And it's hard because we build these like we build these tendencies that we're these comfort zones, right? And I think one of the hardest things to do in poker is come out of your comfort zone and being okay, accepting failure, being wrong, right?
Yeah, I'm very okay with that happening when it comes to bluffing. If
Yeah.
people can muster it up and call me or be smart enough to trap me, you get to have the money. I've always been way more willing to do that than to just call it off like some fucking asshole in a game with people under bluffing.
Right, and especially like where there's other spots that are just like it's with less volatility, with less guesswork, and it's no. You and I think, are very similar to that in that regard. I thought it was a leak, right? Like it's more or less just disconnect. I remember something like Doug Polk said. He's like, the number one thing I would tell people is to disconnect from the emotion, like disconnect from the fear. Like, live with making mistakes. It's okay. You're playing an imperfect game. Like, you're human. You're gonna make. If you're not making any mistakes, it means you are. Like, if you're not recognizing that you're making mistakes, or you're not stacking off, or you're never getting caught. Like, you're never drawing out on people. It's like you are doing something wrong. Like, you should never be on the polar end of anything, right? You should always be some sort of moderate range. And it's like, well, if you're never getting caught bluffing, you're not bluffing enough. If you're getting caught bluffing all the time, you're over bluffing. Or it's like you're never stacking off light. Like, you're playing too tight, right?
If every value bet is the best hand, you're not value betting thin enough.
Right. Perfect example. And it's like everything, I think, should be some sort of moderate range, and then you just like adjust off that frequency based on who you're playing against, right? And I think that's probably like a more optimal strategy rather than just trying to memorize like what to do.
So when you started getting bored of Hold'em, are there any stories you can remember off the top of your head where you started getting more ornery with players or dealers, and this is just a sign to you, like you start asking yourself, why am I acting like this? This isn't like me. This is a sign to start hanging them up.
Good question. I would say like towards the end of like my full-time playing days, my threshold for people's bullshit has gone down. And I remember that like this one time, I'll give you an example, that we were playing like, must have been probably, my guess was like, it was probably like August, because typically like August here, the games aren't great. It's after the series, people are rebuilding, whatever. And I remember walking to the way and I was like, oh, you know what? I kind of feel like playing some No Limit. And I sit down in this 2-5 game. It's fucking horrible. I'm probably the worst player in the game. But I didn't care. I was just going to have a couple of drinks, gamble a little bit. And these two regs are having a conversation with each other, and they're talking about how bad the games have been the last couple of weeks. And not to eavesdrop, but like I just overhear the conversation, and this conversation is relevant for what's about to happen. And then Marley sits down, and Marley's fun. I don't know if you play a lot with Marley, but Marley's a good time. She'll drink, she'll show cards. Like,
I can't think of her face right now, but I know the name.
Marley Cordero. But anyway, so the point I'm trying to make is super fun to play with. Definitely understands the game beyond the game, right? Like, and this shitty ass game turned into an incredible game in like 15 minutes because we decided to do like we were drinking, we were like winner of the pot has to show a card, and the person who folds last gets to pick a random card, right? So like 2 orbits go by, and like everybody, this game's like now really fun, right? Like enjoyment. And one of the guys I was having this conversation, one of the regs, he raises pre-flop, everyone folds. Oh, and here's a caveat: if you don't show the card, anybody can reach in and grab both of your cards and expose it. So he wins the pot, he wins the blinds, and he doesn't expose a card, and I go to reach in and grab both of his cards to expose it, and he slaps my hand away. He's like, "Don't touch my fucking hand," and I went absolutely Daniel, I went absolutely bonkers. I've never been formally kicked out of a casino. This was close. Besser handed me a rack. I go, Best, I'm leaving. Don't worry about it. Like, we don't have to have this conversation. But I went absolutely fucking bonkers on this reg. I go, you want to know why the fucking games are bad? You want to know why da-da-da-da? It's because you're a fucking asshole. You always take. Like, we're having a good time. We got this game out of the muck. Like, this shitty-ass fucking game that you were talking about for the last 2 weeks just turned incredible because of the atmosphere, and you're concerned, and you don't want to play by the same rules. You want to just... It's just this like take mentality and this lack of understanding of like, dude, first of all, it's fucking pre-flop. Who gives a fuck what you had? It's just more like, I just wanted to punish you for not playing the game. And then of course the game broke. Like, I left, Marley's like, yeah, fuck this, and the game broke. And it's like, fuck you. Like, you're not going to get to reap the benefit of a fun atmosphere if you're going to act like a fucking asshole, So I lost my shit.
And you don't think that would have happened if you were more into the game a couple of years before then?
I don't know if I would have had that level of reaction. I was more tilted that somebody's so good at the game. This is a very good regular. I'm not gonna say the name, but like this is a very, very good poker player. So like what I think most frustrated at is like how can something so simple elude you? Like you're so good at the game, you're so good at the problem solving part of the game. How can you not figure out that like a minor adjustment where maybe you give a little EV back? You're probably not, but like let's say hypothetically you are.
Certainly not when you're raising and taking the blinds.
Fuck, right?
I don't want to show I had Queen Jack.
You didn't just like 3x jam the river, and it's like, oh man, it'd be really interesting to see if like you were bluffing here. It's like you raised under the gun, it got through, like nobody gives a fuck what you had. I was just reaching in to penalize you, and his reaction said it all, and it's like you're the problem. You are what's wrong, and you can't figure that out. It's like, I'm thinking the opposite. Like, every fucking game I play in is incredible. Right? Like, you have to do shit to make the game good. And if it means, like, being a little bit more entertaining or you're giving a little bit away, maybe you show a card in the middle of the hand. Like, you show a bluff here. It's like, this is good for the game on the macro level, even if it hurts you on the micro. And it's like, if everybody pitches in a little bit, you're going to create a much better atmosphere.
I table change when the game just feels dead. It's not just that there's no action right now, because sometimes I'm in a game where there's a lull, there's nothing going on right now, but it doesn't feel like no one wants to be there. Mm-hmm. And some games do feel that way. And There's just like no one is interested in doing anything except waiting for a nutted hand. And yeah, those are good games to leave.
Dan, you got to come over to the dark side, man. 4 cards, holy shit. and then we do the double war bomb pots every half hour. Oh, that is the most fun variant of poker I've ever played. Although we did play. Sometimes we play like a home game at Red Rock. We do like a mix, and one of the variants is it's Crazy Pineapple. This game's awesome. So you start with 3 cards. It's pot limit pre-flop, right? So like you can't just blow people off their hands by just stuffing. And then post-flop, it's no limit. But after the action's completed after the flop, everybody has to discard a card. However, we added the caveat to this game is everybody who's still in has to discard their card face up in order. So like all this information goes out.
Oh wow!
So like it's wild. So like you start bluffing, like you have a hand like 8-8-7 and the flop is like 9-7-5.
And you muck a 7.
You muck a 7 and someone's like, holy shit, if you're mucking a 7 you're made. Or like whatever it is. Like you starts getting the wheels going. You're like, holy shit, he fought the straight. Like, why would you be getting rid of a 7? Or you have a fucking set. You have a made hand.
Right, you might want to do this with some hands you can bluff with, because it's that hand is drawing to something better. You can bluff more effectively with it. It's better than having just a pair of 7s and mucking an airball card.
Fun. Yeah, and it gets wild when there's like, it's like a 2-tone board, like 2 spade, 1 diamond. Someone like pitches a spade. And like, let's say you float and a spade comes and you have no spades. You're like, fuck it, I'm still going to bluff spades. Like, I know you don't have a flush. Like you pitch a spade. And it's like, they call you down and then stuff on you in the river. You're like, oh my god, well you dealt 3 spades. It's just so there's a lot of leveling going on once the flop action is complete and people start discarding cards. Incredible game.
So now I want to ask, since you're very aware of players' table presences and how unwelcoming and uninteresting they are to play with, and I don't consider myself to have that great of a table presence either. I mean, I don't think I'm nearly as boring or as unable to have a simple conversation as some of these people we see. But like, I don't know, on a 10 scale of how bad I am for the game, just personality-wise, like where would you put me? Because I got a pretty strong resting bitch face. I don't really smile at anybody. I mean, I'm responsive when people talk to me, but I'm certainly a dick back when they're a dick. I mean, I don't know. No, what have you seen from over the years?
When people provoke you and you respond, I love that. That's great. I would say, on a scale like 1 to 10, 10 being, I don't want to play with this person, 1 being, I can't wait to play with this person again. I would say you're between a 1 and 5. Like, you're always engaged, right? Like, you're not disrespectful. Like, do I want you at the table? No, you're gonna fucking bleed me to death.
Regardless of skill level, though. Just pure personality. Like,
yeah, no, you're fun to have at the table, and we've had some fun conversations. We've talked baseball. We've talked a bunch of shit.
All right. I think maybe I think it's worse than it is.
No, I think you're probably overprojecting. 100%.
I think maybe because the people who don't like me really can't stand me.
Right, but if they don't like you, it could be for like reasons that aren't not obvious. It's like maybe you beat the fuck out of this guy, right? Maybe you have a hold over this guy, and it's almost like their insecurity of being like, man, I hate playing against this guy, not because he's miserable to play with. He's miserable to play with because he fucking destroys me, right? So it's almost like it could be somebody else's insecurity and what how you generate like your perception of or how they perceive you, right? I mean, I'm going back to my own experiences. Like two of the people I hated the absolute most when I first started playing are now two of my best friends. So it's like, and the reason why I hated them was because they were a threat to me. Like it was almost like an insecurity issue, not like a necessarily anything validated, right? Where it's like, oh, this guy doesn't like me at the table because XYZ, and it's just like, oh, it's the total opposite, right?
All right, that's reassuring to hear, I guess. I mean, there was a time in the last year or two, you got into some argument with a player, and I didn't say anything about it. I just let it go on. I was definitely on your side, and you did say a few things to the guy, but as soon as this thing became an issue, you were just like, you're an idiot. You just blew him right off. And it was just like, he was just trying to get anyone who's paying attention to try and get him on your side. Like, I was like, the way Matt just called this guy an idiot, I was like, I know he's right. Like, I'm pretty sure I was on your side anyway, but once you said that, I was like, he's right and he knows he's right.
I just wish I remember. I can be stubborn and a little bit arrogant too, though. So like, as I've gotten older, I feel like I'm much better at this, is being a little bit self-aware. You step back and be like, you know what? There was a situation with adversity. Did I handle that well? Right? And then you start asking yourself like some follow-up questions of like, what could I have done better? What did I do poorly? I wish I remember what
you apologized like kind of to me and kind of to the table right after. You're like, because you went off a little bit, you're like, hey, I'm sorry. I was like, hey, you don't have to apologize to me. I was like, fucking handle this guy. I mean, you got to put up with these people every day.
Forget it. I mean, there's also times where I want to respect other people's. You're in someone else's space too, right? So like me acting out, maybe I could be potentially this behavior, even if I think it's justified to put this guy in his place, could be uncomfortable for you, right? And it's like I'm taking this liberty. So yeah, no. At least I'm glad I apologized. At least this.
The other day, I want to hear your opinion on this. The other day, I ran a reg off the table, and that's great to run a reg off the table.
I already love this story.
Yeah. Tell me what you think of this. I mean, if you throw the book at people over this or not, because I generally do throw the book at people over this. A guy raises to 15, it's the reg. I 3-bet to 50,
okay,
and then the dealer points to the next guy, tells him it's 50, which we know sounds a little bit like 15, and he throws out 3 red chips, thinking it's 15. The original raiser folds, and then the dealer says, no, it's 50. He says, oh, he takes back his 15, and throws his cards in, and then I tell the dealer, like, that 15 has to stay. I throw the book at people over things like this, and this is what incensed the reg into leaving. He's like, are you serious? It's like, are you kidding me? I was like, it's just a rule, man.
This is an interesting spot. I'm actually glad you brought this up. I'm a lot more liberal.
I had a feeling you were going to be.
I make like judgment calls. Like, is the guy over the age of 60? Is he like, has he been a fun or like has he been minding his own business? Like, these are such situations where I like, oh, this is an honest mistake. Like, there was no intent here. Like, take the money back, right? Like, I don't care.
Not trying to angle,
right?
Because if you don't have this rule, you have angling left and right.
Yeah, and like, is this a kid? Is this a young kid who's like paying attention? Like, I'm not gonna be as forgiving. I'll be like, you know what, buddy? Like, use this as a learning lesson. Like, be a little bit more careful with what's going on. But if you're sitting next to somebody who's in their 80s. Right, like, I'm gonna give them. Oh, I didn't see the 3-bet. Like, dude, take it back. Like, you're good. There's nothing about this that had any ill intent, right? So I think like these kind of situations are good.
It's discretion.
Discretion. You have to make like take certain things into.
All right. Well, I'll give you more detail then. It was cool. Some Asian guy, and we know Asians are always at least 10 years older than they look.
Right.
So tough. He looked about 45.
So he's probably like 79.
Very, very possible he was. He's only sitting with about $500 or $600. He hasn't been a ton of action, but then again, this game is still fairly new, so you don't really know what's going to happen if you get him somewhat significantly stuck. I mean, my thought was if he leaves the game, we're going to get someone just like him in about 3 minutes anyway, and it's just, I don't feel like doing favors for you guys. You're slowing me down all day with your phones and your fucking iPads. You never pay attention when it's your turn, and then you act when it's not your turn, and you're not even paying attention to the bet. I just don't feel like giving money back to you. And if it's a whale, if it's someone who's very special, like, all right, it's not this is just
you're totally
bad.
You're totally justified to take the 15. You made a mistake. It's again, like I think it's all discretionary based. Like it's like, all right, this guy is like no reads yet, or he's fairly new. It's like you made a mistake. He might not have. Like maybe he was trying to get away. You know, who knows?
Who knows what he was trying to do?
Right,
if anything.
Are you wrong for? Are you out of line for having the 15 stay? Not in the fucking slightest. Like, you know.
But these kinds of things can upset other players. Like it upset this Reg and made him leave the table instantly because he didn't want to play with a guy who was just enforcing a rule. That I thought was a pretty significant overreaction.
No, I agree with that. That is a very surprising overreaction.
It's like, dude, you may have chosen to handle this differently than I did, but like you can't think what I did here was like so out of order. No, I mean,
there's nothing about it that's out of line, and his reaction to leave over it seems
over the top.
Seems very illogical. Like if he did feel strongly about this, I think like a cordial conversation would be like, buddy, like he made an honest mistake. Like give him the $15 back. You know, if he felt this strongly about it, where he felt
right instead of leaving, he should say that. Yeah.
So then who knows? Like maybe he left for a different. Maybe he was tilted, and this was like
this pushed him over the top.
Yeah, like
this was the last straw.
It's so hard to speculate sometimes, like on what's actually going through people's minds in the game.
The part that gets on my nerves about this is the dealers. You're always doing the dealer's job. The dealer is supposed to call that out right away himself, and if I want to let him take the 15 back, I should be telling that to the dealer, and then he says, all right, he's letting you take it back. But the dealer is the one who should be enforcing this at first.
Especially in real time before like other action happens, right? Because now, like, who knows? Like, somebody might cold call now. Cause like,
exactly. Well, that right,
and, so,
including the original Razor, because there's $15 extra dead money out there, and that could be enough to push this to a call.
For sure, it's handle it in real time. Like, let's take care of this right now.
And then it happened the next day. I couldn't believe this. It happened a day later. I never play at the fucking Aria, and a lot of those dealers are lightning quick, and it happened. It happened again, and I was almost glad I got 4-bet because I didn't have to make a whole big fuss about this. It goes 15, I make it 50. We get another guy who calls 15 instead of 50. Then this guy 4-bets. I was like in the process of telling the dealer that 15 has to make. He makes it 175. Like, you know what? Good. I'm glad to lose this hand. And the guy who won the pot didn't say anything. And then I just said to the dealer after, because he was telling me that, no, we can take it back. I was like, you're wrong, but it's okay.
Right.
And the other player who said, like, he's like, I didn't see it. It's like, I'm sitting in seat fucking 5. There's 2 fucking quarters right in front of me. Where the fuck are you looking? Like, you got the table in front of you. Like, what are you looking out completely this way and you're putting chips in? Yeah, maybe that's why you didn't see the fucking money. It was right fucking in front of you. What do you mean you didn't see it? You couldn't have been looking at the freaking game then if you didn't see it.
It's pretty wild that it happened back to back.
I know.
It almost seems like 15 to 50, where it's like red to 2 green chips, but maybe that's like just like a verbal thing. It's like
it's definitely a verbal trap.
People are just so distracted, or they hear 15, 50. It's
there's so little 3-betting that the first number they hear, they figure that's where it's going to stay because nobody fucking 3-bets.
That could be that. I have no idea.
I think that's a small piece of it.
That's pretty wild that happened back to back for like in the exact same amount.
Exact same configuration except for getting 4-bet. And I've never been so happy to be 4-bet and to just fold because it was like, okay, great, I get to just put this argument to bed. I don't have to fight for this again, run another few players off the game because I'm trying to enforce a rule that the dealers don't fucking know, let alone enforce. I'm going to talk to one of their floor supervisors and ask them, what is the rule? Because I've had a couple of dealers tell me that this is not a rule and I don't see how this could not be a rule. The first dealer, the first time it happened, he's like, that's only in a tournament. I was like, it's not only in a tournament. It's like, it's everywhere.
I actually think in a tournament, they usually call the floor over, and then the floor makes a judgment. The floor makes the judgment. As a player, I can't be like, you can take that back. The floor has to...
Yeah, fuck that. In a tournament, I would never, ever let you take it back. If you're in a tournament, nobody's going anywhere. You can't quit the game.
There's no way a player could be like, no, take that. Like, the dealer's going to call the floor. The floor's going to be like, okay, what's going on? And then almost always, from what I remember, is like, okay, sir, like, you can call the bet, but that stays, right? And it's usually like, okay, then they just, like, complete the bet or they fold. But, yeah, there is no taking it back in a tournament. No way. I don't think I've ever seen... Maybe, like... there was one time, I think, and Ray made this, I thought he made the right call. Like, somebody had gone all in, there was never a button, and the person, like, put in, like, the small blind chip, and, like, technically you put in a chip, it's a call, but, like, clearly they didn't know they were calling it all in, And that, I think Ray like overruled the book and was like, you know what? To protect the integrity of the tournament, I'm going to allow this player to take this bet back.
Wow.
Yeah, which I thought was the right call. And actually, I remember Mark Darner was in the big blind. He's like, Ray, like, that is off book, but that is correct. Like, kudos to you for, like, not being a sheep and just going by the rule book. Like, because now, like, you are infected. In a situation like that where it's like 100% this person didn't see what was going on. They're sitting in, like, seat 2. They can't see, like, seat 9 with the all-in button or whatever. It's, like, covered. And you're protecting the integrity of the tournament and the other 7 players at the table by making this decision, right?
I agree that it sucks to see somebody be punished so heavily over an oversight so fairly innocent. I mean, I recognize this side of the coin, and that we're not here to cut people's throats.
Right, and that's the other thing, too. It's like,
what about the guy who went all in? What did he think?
I mean, if that guy, that he wants to win off, like, an anomaly, it's like, you probably could do something else. Like, if it matters that much. I hear you. This is a fair argument to make. It's like, you know what? Like, I want that to be a call, or you might not want it. Maybe you don't want that to be a call. Maybe
right, yeah.
Maybe he's bluffing.
Right. He may not, right. It's true. Like,
right.
Please take it back. He totally didn't know. Yeah.
Totally fair argument, If he jams a real hand and he, like, knows he's going to get called by dust, like, it's, you know what? Like, what about me? Like, what if I turn my hand over? Like, I got called. Like, what if I flip my hand over?
I know.
So, I think these are gray areas where, man, you can make a good argument on both ends.
Well, that's the nice thing about playing online is none of these hazards exist. Not a single one of them.
I don't miss online, man. It was awful. It's just robotic. You were a totally different game.
Do you think the personalities of the tournament field, since you like to play tournaments sometimes, do you think like 2-5 specifically has the worst company of anybody around?
Yeah,
or is
it's not.
That's what I thought.
It's not even close.
So you like tournaments? The company is a lot better.
Yeah. Tournaments,
playing for a big prize,
even playing like 1-3 no limit. I love, like, if I have friends in town who don't really play, they might play once a year, and they want to play like more comfortable sizing. Like, I love 1-3 no limit. I absolutely love it. Right? It's so much fun. You drink, you show cards, you make friends. It's a lot of conversation. There's zero saturation with people doing this as a living, and it's an incredible environment, I think, to play. Like, if you're somebody who wants to get into poker and play and not feel like almost like a target, as you can easily feel if you're playing 2-5 or 5-10. 5-10, I would say, is similar to 2-5. I would put those two games, like those 2 game atmospheres, as the absolute worst gaming atmospheres you could play as a live player.
So you must have hated the 5-10 at the Bellagio.
I played that game maybe 2 or 3 times. Like, I just never win. I was always pretty loyal to just playing at the Wynn, right? I like the people there, the staff, the room. It's just a convenient place for me to get to from where I live, right? So I was just really like a one-room kind of player, right? I didn't really play too much at the Aria or Bellagio, or I'm trying to think of other rooms, maybe like South Point, maybe a few times in each room over the last decade. But yeah, I've always been partial to the Wynn. I love the Wynn.
And you play in Omaha. I mean, the player pool, everyone says the player pool is quite soft.
Yeah, it's a totally different beast, man.
It scares the shit out of me, just the thought of playing for a year and be losing and not even sure if this is my fault or not. That's what keeps me away from it.
Yeah, I think people talk about like variance in the game. Like, there's actually less. Like, it's kind of crazy because you're all in more. I'm not even talking about like running it multiple times. Like, I actually think Omaha has less variance on results. The game has more variance, right? Like, you go from having the nuts to dust back to having the nuts, like, in one hand, right? Like, there's a lot more variance in the actual game, but I actually think the results are less volatile, right?
And it's because the edges are so clear.
They're huge. You're getting it in when you're playing for a large pot. Like, you're getting it in with a very good hand, right? And a lot of times, like, if you're playing against people who don't understand the game, they flop bottom 2 pair and they're like, oh, let's put all the money in. It's like you were drawing like almost stone dead. Like, it's crazy how equities can run so close in the actual game.
But you get so many shots at it, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and you're also just like all in way more often, right? The stack sizes or the stack depths are just a lot less because of how bloated the pots get, And no limit, like, I don't know what it is. For the amount of hands you get dealt versus the amount of times you're actually all in and contested, like, I don't know what that percentage is. I bet it's less than 2 or 3%, right? Where like PLO, it might be as high as like 10, 15, right? Like maybe not that high, but the point I'm trying to make is like it's just, you're getting it in more often, right? And when you do get it in, you're getting it in with like a very, very good hand that's almost never going to be drawing dead, and the opposite's not true. Like there are times where you get it in against somebody and like they are drawing dead, or they're drawing a 1 out. You know, you like set them and they hit that 8 or whatever. But yeah, incredible game.
So the 1-2 PLO has a $5 bring-in at the win. There's a $1,000 max. What do you think the best players can win at that game?
I think if you put like a good 5, 10, 20 reg in that game, like I don't think like 50 to 75 an hour is unreasonable. I think like with that game specifically because it's raked and sometimes you don't. What hurts you there more than anything is just the people who are just like min buying, right? They're buying for 100. It's really hard to have edge against that because you're not. They're just not deep enough. But when that game gets deep and it gets splashy, and you're playing sometimes as big as like 8K pots, like you're gonna have like an insane win rate in those kind of games.
So you're probably not trying to make the same types of really fancy hold and breeze and thread the needle plays. Like you're not doing this at all.
No, it's a totally different. It's funny. Like No Limit, I would say like my style of play in cash is extremely spewy, reckless, aggressive, over bluff, all this kind of shit. In PLO, I'm way nittier with my hand selection, but I would say I'm still as aggressive with like when I have the cards to bluff, I do go for it at too high of a propensity. I've gotten better at dialing it down where it's like I'm going to float less against this opponent because it's just not going to work like as often, or I respect the leverage of the game too. Like it's so different. Like it's just two totally different games. Like when position is so important, whether you're small blind or button versus like when you're in sandwich in the middle and there's a field of players that's higher than 2 and like you're the guy in the middle. Like your hand is irrelevant. Like you are in a terrible spot, right? You really want to be like acting first or last. I've noticed like it's really hard to float. Like No Limit, you can get creative. Like you know what, I'm gonna call, see what develops. Like if things change, like I might be able to do some creative shit on the turn or river. But PLO, you just don't have that kind of room. You don't want to be in this habit of like, oh, this guy bets and you're on his immediate left and there's 2 people behind you and you're calling with something like speculative. Like you're gonna get wrecked. Like you're gonna allow people to just like check a much stronger range and just put it in a little bit wider because you can't do anything, right? So like the games are very different, and the creativity of where you apply like your No Limit skill set is so different than like where you might get creative in PLO, right?
I've heard PLO described a lot of ways, but never as less variance than Hold'em. This is the first time I've ever heard this.
I think the in-game like
we know on each individual all-in, we know those are running a lot closer.
Right, but no, my argument is like they're not. Like when you're playing against somebody who's not as good, they're getting it in too often with too weak of holdings where like your equity is just like insane. Like in No Limit, yeah, I guess like when you're getting it in, you can get some disparity too. But I don't know. I think I just found that you just get it in better. Like,
No Limit, you can get it in as like a huge favorite, but you might get more of those dominating situations where you're like 80-20, 90-10. You may get those more often than at Omaha, but they come up very rarely, like you were saying before. Like when you're all in at Hold'em, you're only called 2 or 3% of the time.
Yeah, I think with like No Limit, you're going to be on like both sides of that. Like when you have aces and the other guy has kings, like you're just going to win. You're going to get the 80-20 your way, and like when you have kings and that guy has aces, like you're going to get it in 20-80. I find it very hard to believe that like there's too many spots in PLO when you're putting the money in, you're ever getting it in like less than 45%, right? Mm-hmm. So like you're kind of moving the graph, like you're moving the floor.
Or if you've probably made a really big mistake.
Yeah,
or it's just a major
like
cooler.
An anomaly. Yeah,
it's
just
crazy
like,
cooler. Yeah.
It's like, man, you have like a wrap with a king high flush draw, and the guy has like an ace high flush draw with a wrap, right? It's like, all right, that's like the worst case scenario. That's almost never gonna happen. Or like maybe top set versus middle set on a really wet board, like. But those don't happen nearly as frequently, I think, in No Limit, where it's like the coolers are almost always going to go back and forth.
You make a lot of money in Hold'em by avoiding those coolers, though.
You can if you find like the random creative line pre where you flat kings or something to trap and nobody squeezes, and the original razor has aces and the board comes like 7, 8, 9, you now lose like a few bets versus like your entire stack as if you win 3 bets. So like, yeah, no, that's true. There's a lot of variance in like what path you choose to.
You do look a lot more relaxed at the Omaha table when I walk by. Sometimes you look happy again.
It's crazy. I'm playing like way bigger, I think, PLO than I ever did No Limit, and it's just like it's so much more fun.
Hold'em, you were looking like some guy working a desk job, lost in his life.
I lost the love for the game. It was just it became a grind. It was like no longer like a fun activity where you were able to pay the bills.
Right. How many hours a month are you putting in these days at Omaha?
Well, it's tough because like my real job basically takes me from September to actually now. Today is probably like my last somewhat busy day. So like that takes up a lot of time. So like I try to find maybe 1 or 2 times a month during that stretch to get in to play a little bit, and then I'd say from like now to basically August I'll play a little bit more. Right. So I'd say I'll probably play like 4 or 5 times a month.
Well, for all the exasperation and tilt you felt at the table, you've succeeded in poker by getting in and getting out. I mean, I've managed to get out of the 5-10 and higher environments, which is also a very nice thing to get out of, but still got my face in the grass at 2-5 like I do when I don't have to be there. It's a little mix of both, but
yeah. I would just say try to find like if you want to try to find the love again, like what drives you, right? Like it's like oh, I want to wreck somebody today, right? Like you lean on that, right? I think that could potentially help.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about just Josh bluffing it off with Jack-6, and you can do that to a ton of players. I've been looking for more spots like this lately where we get to the river, I don't care what happens up to this point, I'm just jamming 3 or 4x because you just are not going to be calling that often here.
You just even if it doesn't work. Like you and here's the thing, too, is like when you put yourself in these situations more often, you get out of that comfort zone, you start challenging yourself. Like, I don't care what happens. Like, I don't care about the money. Like, I want to challenge myself to see, like, if I can do this and become so fucking comfortable by doing it, it's really rewarding, right? It's like, it becomes fun. It's like, wow, like I now have this in my arsenal. I've disconnected from caring if I'm right or wrong, right? And that makes you very, very, very dangerous. Somebody who's solid, ABC, and also has, like, this signature, like, I just get to win whenever the fuck I want card because I don't... I'm capable of doing this, but like people's perception of me is like I'm not. So like I just get to use this card once a day, and I'm gonna use it now. Super fun, super dangerous. The scariest player to play against isn't somebody who's capable and aggressive, like at a high frequency. It's a person who's capable, like secretly capable, and plays super ABC. Like that is the fucking scariest person to play against. Where it's like they have it in their chamber, but they don't use it enough where you like don't know what to do when they do, right? Like they just get to win because you just assume like, oh, this is the time that they have it because they never get out of line. Or
they use those creative big bluffs so precisely with their timing that they're getting caught. That is close to never.
To me, for me, that is the scariest player to play against. Right?
Yeah, I know. I've wanted to stay away from the really lag style like Adam Walton and Josh Curtis and maybe even to a degree you, right? To some degree, playing pretty lag. I've always felt comfortable when players think I'm tight and they just play straightforward against me.
Correct.
And then it's a lot easier to navigate a ton of situations and you can get really aggressive in certain spots. I mean, like when the right card falls. Once a day, if that's what it is.
Your perception of them is going to be more accurate than their perception of you. Like, they're going to be right most of the time, but you get this signature card. You get to be like, I am using my signature card because you and I both know, like, I play very straightforward. What you don't know is, like, I'm going to use this signature card. Like, I'm going to get to win this hand because I'm going to do something that you don't expect, right? Like, at a frequency that you just don't expect. So, like, I get to win. Where it's, like, when the opposite's true, it's like, you know what? Like, kind of going back to, like, the guy who's always attacking the 4, 5, 6 board. It's like, well, you're just going to win the money if you have it because you're free. I know that you're going to attack this board. You're going to know that I'm capped. And what you don't know is, like, I'm just going to call you down now. Like, you're going to just have to have it because you are so imbalanced with bluffs that, like, I'm just going to call and print by calling, you know? And it's kind of like to that degree where it's like, well, if you're on the other side and you're the guy who peels and their perception of you is like, oh, you don't attack these boards enough, like, you're just going to have it. It's like, well, you just get to bet and you get to win. Like, if you want, you know? You just get this signature play.
I felt like also you got the sense when someone is starting to think you're going to be over bluffing too much, you know, to slam on the brakes against them and switch
to just value when you're going huge against them.
Right.
And they think they've adjusted to you, but
Yeah,
they don't know that you've already readjusted to their adjustment.
I always find it funny. Like, I was playing in a game about a month ago. This was so funny to me, where there's a couple like nitty regulars, and this action player sits down to their left, and their immediate adjustment, right? Their immediate adjustment is to play more hands passively. And I'm like laughing to myself. I was like, this is the worst adjustment you can make. Just because this guy's splashy and drunk doesn't make him an idiot. He's still aware of like the dynamic he gives off. He's about to punish you guys because he knows you guys are going to be basically limp calling trying to get him, right? Like, he's not an idiot. He's aware of that. So like I'm watching this shit go down, and I'm like, you're getting wrecked because the minute they fucking check raise, like, he just folds, and then every time they don't check raise, like, he just keeps winning. And then the one time he gets resistance, like, he has it, like, he's like, I know I'm going to get it all because you think whatever it is that you have is good enough because I play over here. And I always find that dynamic so interesting to me. It's like, how are you guys not aware that just because this guy is splashy doesn't make him an idiot, right? Like those two things aren't mutually exclusive. Like, somebody could be splashy and aggressive and completely fucking aware of that, and they're using that to your advantage. You're playing their game, not the other way around, right?
Yeah, sometimes I catch a player even like, you 3-bet with a certain hand, and then it gets to showdown, and you 3-bet with a perfectly 3-bettable hand in a perfectly 3-bettable spot, and you're still viewed as this lunatic for doing that. Like, someone who might not have even been in the hand, they'll give you like this glare. Like, so like, oh, I'm on to you.
False
like,
advertising.
Yeah, right, exactly. That they're going to, start defending way more often against you and just try and trap you, but not actually do it. They're just going to check raise you immediately and just, I don't know, just looking for some simple shortcut thing. Oh, I know what to do against this guy, and are not paying any mind to the fact that he's paying attention to you too.
100%. I have a good hand history. This guy from Toronto, he comes down every once in a while. I played a hand with him like 3 or 4 years ago in No Limit, and I was drinking, I was showing cards, I was having a good time, splashing around, and we were both pretty deep. We were actually playing No Limit. He's very straightforward, very tight, very ABC. And we were both pretty deep. I think we were over like 4,000 effective. And I opened Jack 10 like early, and he's on my immediate left, and he just 3-bets massive. Like, he 3-bets like 150. Like, good sizing. Like, I'm sticky. Like, I'm not folding for 75. I'm not folding for 200. Like, I want to play some pots. So it folds back to me. I peel. I have Jack 10, and there's like 300 in the middle, right?
Wait, are you suited?
No, I just don't. I don't remember. Probably not.
Matty Levine, expert poker player.
So flop comes. Well, we're really deep, and like he's.
Yeah, I know. I know you're good at this. I know you're good at. This is what Matty is good at.
Do I think this is a winning call in theory? Absolutely fucking not. Like, no way. However, I want to put this guy in the blender.
Matty believes in himself.
Yeah. So flop comes. Flop comes Queen 9 like 3 or something. Queen 9X, right?
Here we go.
I check. He checks back. Now, like, I already think his range is like kings, aces, queens, and ace king, right? And once he checks back,
agreed.
Given that we're this deep, like, he could have queens, could be trapping queens. I think this particular player is going to probably bet more often than not.
I agree.
So,
again, just because he thinks you're going to continue to do something.
I catch the dream. I'm screaming the minute he checks back the flop. I'm screaming, just peel a fucking king, just peel a king that turns a fucking all-suit king. And I think, like, most people would be like, all right, they either check or maybe check raise or bet like 200. I bet 700. I bet 700 into 300. I'm like, at the fucking minimum, you have ace king, which you're done with the hand anyway. Like, I don't care. Like, you're probably gonna fold to a $200 bet. So I was like, I am targeting specifically a checked back kings or a checked back aces that's trying to pot control. So I'm giving him exactly what I think he's kind of like hoping. And I couldn't get the money out fast, and he's like, oh, I'm all in. I just beat him into the pot. And he's like, oh my god. He's like, you have it? And I was like, I'm thinking, like, of course I fucking have it.
So do you have a set?
Yeah, he turned a set of kings.
Yeah.
Which I'm not saying, like, it's a cooler.
Of course.
But if he knew
and he's got outs.
But if he knew what I was thinking, he would understand that, like, I'm never bluffing here, and I just have what I have, right? It's
a bad jam.
I think he just, I don't, yeah, I mean, he shoved for a lot. Like,
I mean, you wouldn't have pocket nines with that turn bet size, but if you,
exactly,
I could see you bet folding nines in that spot.
Right, like if I was, I'm just gonna be completely transparent. Like, I am not bluffing this guy, this texture, these stacks, this size. Even if I had a hand like 10-10 or Jack-Jack, I would overbet sometimes, but I would overbet the other way. Like if the turn was an 8, I am not attacking this card when I think it smashes you, right? And I'm not attacking it for 2.5, 3x pot.
Yeah, I've made a lot of big folds in situations like this where my card comes and they're blasting into me, and I'm like, what? It's like that card. You're supposed to be afraid of that card.
Right.
You're doing the opposite, but when it's against a typical 2-5 player, you can hero fold just about anything.
Right. You feel fucking great about it. It's like, wow, that's weird. Like I was gonna bet that card for value or a bluff, but like,
thank you.
I remember I watched a hand on the stream. It was Andy versus Phil Ivey, and Phil Ivey turned like a card that was gin for him. Like I think he had like Ace King or something.
I can't remember the situation, but I remember that Ivy owned the shit out of.
He owned Andy. He's like, you're never this. What are you repping? What bluffs could you have here? And he folded, which was close to he had Ace King on on a turn ace, and Andy's overbet the pot on a flush after the flop got checked or something. He's just like, fuck it, you just have it. Right. I might not know what it is, but I'm drawing stone down. He folded. I was like, that's Phil understanding Andy has no bluffs in this particular spot for this size, right? And I was like, I thought about that hand. Anyway, I saw this guy recently, a couple weeks ago. He's like, dude, I still have nightmares about that hand. He's like, this had to be 3 or 4 years ago. He's like, fucking turn king. And he's like, oh man, you gotta let that go.
Yeah, I guess he probably just doesn't want to see a bad river card and be put in another spot. I mean, a lot of players do this. They panic and shove because they don't want to play the hand, but it's suicide to shove. They're not going to get a good result.
Think about if I am bluffing 10-10 or 9-10 or queen jack, which I would be, but specifically, like I said, not on the king. I would do it I would play for it all on the 8.
Yeah.
I would overbet turn and then jam river if he does call, or read the turn situation, see how fast he calls. If faster he calls, more likely I am to
jamming lots of rivers, but maybe
exactly. Not. And the king is just not a card I'm ever gonna bluff. But it's it doesn't matter what the reality is; it's the perception. It's I have top set. I'm putting the money in. And if going back, if I did have, let's say I have queen 10 or queen jack or 10-9, hands that I'm actually gonna try to bluff him off. Nutted one pair or maybe even a set, which is absolutely psychotic.
And that's the thing.
I go for it anyway. Sometimes I don't care. And if I am doing that, you're letting me off the hook, right? And that happens a lot. People let you off the hook. They're like, what? You're like, man, I was about to just stuff the river. And then you feel better about your decision because if you're doing this with this, when you call, I win because if you're doing this with this hand, when you do call, you can't. You're capped on the river. You don't have these hands to call river bets, right? So you're basically letting the people off the hook when you are bluffing instead of just catching the rest of the bluff. So I think it's one of these situations where it's the best of both worlds. You get you lose the minimum, and then you're almost always going to make the maximum because they're not going to have enough river calls, right?
And then this Jack 10 versus King's hand, I feel like when you cooler him, you will always get it in. But when he coolers you, not necessarily. Yeah, I mean, even if it comes King 10-10, you're going to lose something, but you're not necessarily getting stacked.
Right. The way this hand, the hands were reversed, and he opens to 15. First of all, I'm never going to make it that sizing because I'm going to be more balanced, right? I'd probably make it I also want to be able to call 4 bets too when I have the random junk and we're playing this deep. So if he makes it 15, maybe I make it 60 on these stacks or 70 right to his left, some amount. So that's all right, he calls, flops queen 9x. I'm gonna continue for 100. He calls, turns a king. I'm either gonna check back for deception or I'm gonna bet, call a smallish raise and then full river. Right? It's so it's the stack to pot ratio is never gonna get to an amount where maybe at most if I do double barrel a king when I turn a set. Actually, that's a specific spot against that guy I would check because I would be most concerned that most of his range is Jack 10 and all the other stuff that I beat, I want to improve. So if he has Queen Jack, I'll give him the free card. I don't care. But it's I want the Queen Jacks to 10-9s to improve to 2 pair and if he proves to a straight, it's whatever. But anyway, if I do double, I'm doubling for small sizing because I don't think he can continue that often. So maybe I go 125. He check raises to 500, and it's like, okay, like I might not even peel this because you just have Jack 10.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, or whatever it is. Like I call the bets, and then I'm done with the hand if you put any more money in. So yeah, if the roles were reversed, I don't think the hand goes anywhere near the same.
So Matty can still clearly talk winning No Limit Hold'em, but I don't gather that any of this conversation is making him any more interested in playing it again.
No, I do love No Limit. I do. I still love the game. It's just
the game, not what it's turned into in Vegas, at least. Not where you're around it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've been around so long where it's like I've seen the transition from what it used to be to what it is now, and it's just like it's gone from like this fun playing environment to like watching paint dry, right? So it's.
I know.
You still get a fun lineup. I love playing with like friends who aren't necessarily there to win, right? Like there's a gamble and there's like a recreational vibe to it. Like I still do love playing.
All right. Well, we're glad to hear that then.
Yeah. You haven't lost me yet, Arfin.
All right. All right. Well, maybe you can come back and I'd hate to break your lucky streak against me with those two hands.
Dude, it's coming back, man. Regression in the mean. Like you should be winning. Like you've outplayed me over the course of a decade. So, Dave Rom too. Dave Rom is the other. You and Dave Rom have run so bad. It almost. There's times where I like feel guilty. I was like, man, I wish I could like get some of this variance against some other players.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's sometimes whenever I catch myself feeling guilty, I'm like, don't ever feel bad, okay? Like, because when it's happening to you, everybody's just like all smiles and they're celebrating. Like, that's what you got to do.
Right.
So, well, Matty, thank you very much for coming into the studio today. This was a great conversation. It's great to hear your takes on present day Hold'em, past Hold'em, and present day Omaha.
Oh, Dan, I appreciate you having me. This was fun.
All right, and we'd certainly love to have you back sometime. Maybe after you've gotten out of Omaha, you can get into mixed games or something like that.
I don't know. I played some of those things. That's a little too wild for me.
But, you can't do limit-style betting.
I don't really like the limit. It caps the creativity.
I agree. I mean, I've always been interested to play mixed, but I'm like, but there's no psychological warfare available to play. It's just 20, 20, 20, 20. Then we go 40, 40, 40, and the pot is gigantic, and like, how are you going to level somebody with 40?
Like, hey, I'm going to click it back. And I was like, okay, I call. Like, I'm getting 200 to 1. But.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we know there's a skill to it, but same as you, it just doesn't interest me that much. All right, well, thanks you again, Matty. And
appreciate you having me.
All right, and thank you again, everybody, Dead Money fans. We're in day 2 of the. This recording is on day 2 of the college basketball tournament. You into that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. I got some brackets. We're in. We got some sweats.
You're still alive. You're back.
Oh yeah.
It's not totally ruined yet.
I got 2 good ones.
All right.
So we'll see.
I was into it in high school, but I like being around the action. I like being around the excitement, hearing people talk about it, watching the end of the crazy games. But personally, I don't watch much of the college hoops anymore. It's a little herky-jerky for me. Not that the NBA players are even trying most of the time.
NBA is brutal.
Unless, that's in the games that weren't thrown ahead of time.
I don't watch the games. I just bet on them.
Yeah, that's smart. All right, well, thanks again, everybody. Got a busy weekend of playing in front of us, so we'll talk to you soon. See you next time.